Bailiff Cassandra Britt is standing in for bailiff Kevin Roscoe, and law clerk Alexi Mincer is sitting in for law clerk Sarah Rose. Honesty Butler is suing her former friend, Walteria Flowers, for the cost of a car and stolen property.
Court come to order. All rise. Have a seat, please. Good morning, Judge. Case 3074, Butlers versus Flowers. Thank you. Miss Butler, how long have you and Miss Flowers been friends?
We became friends around the summer of 2022.
How?
We both lived in South Carolina, and then we both moved to Jacksonville, so it's kind of like we were just friends.
Did you see each other often before you decided that you wanted to buy her car?
Yes, ma'am. She used to come and pick me up all the time, and then I used to see her around the town that we lived in before we moved back to Jacksonville.
You didn't have a car?
No, ma'am.
Did you have a driver's license?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever have a car?
Yes, ma'am.
What happened to it?
I wrecked it.
You broke it?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you do that?
It was my fault. It was a failure to yield.
Oh, so there was a crash?
Yes, ma'am.
That was your fault?
Yes, ma'am.
On what day did you have a conversation with Miss Flowers about purchasing her car?
It was December 12th.
Of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of car was it?
It's a 2010 Chevy Malibu.
When did you purchase it?
It was 2021, March 2021.
And why were you getting rid of it?
Because I had another car and I was getting another car too, so.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $8,000.
Lexi, would you look up a 2010 Chevy Malibu?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 2-door, 4-door, I don't even know how many doors.
4-door.
How many miles did it have on it when you purchased it?
It was 130.
Now, interesting, because a year later, you agreed to sell the defendant that same car for how much?
I agreed to sell it to her for $4,500, but I was selling it as is.
Just a second.
Okay.
Go back. We're going to get to as is in a second.
Okay.
That's not the final price you agreed on with her based upon these records.
No, ma'am.
What was the final price you agreed?
It was $4,000.
Is that right?
No, ma'am.
It was $3,500.
Yes, ma'am.
So the ultimate price that you agreed to sell the car for was $3,500.
No, ma'am. It was $4,000.
Show me. Show me 35.
Ma'am.
Private party, fair condition, between $6,000 to $7,800 for fair
6,000 to 78.
$6,000 to $7,800.
Thank you. Okay, well, it was $4,000, but because of things wrong with the car, you said I'll take off $500 from the original price because there were more things wrong with the car than she originally thought. Is that what happened?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, it sounds to me, even at $4,000, you got a pretty good deal
Yes, ma'am.
because of what Lexi has told me about the current value of the car, which is the low end, $6,000, and at $3,500, even I would buy that car. It was a great value. This is what your case is about. It is your claim that you made all but $100 worth of the payments
Yes, ma'am.
on the car, and then the defendant, unbeknownst to you, came to your house at night and repossessed the car.
Yes, ma'am.
You say you only owed her $100.
Yes, ma'am.
Defendant says you owed her $7,000, but I think she's relying on the $4,000 figure. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's where the discrepancy is, and you took the car back.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Part of that had to do with, I gather, the two of you having an argument.
Yes, ma'am.
We fought.
Two of you having an argument. I'll get to that in a second. So you have a counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
You want the money back that you put into the car.
Well, not actually what I paid for the car, and also the belongings that was in the car.
Okay, let's get rid of the belongings. She did have some stuff in the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have it with you?
Yes, ma'am. I have some of it with me, like her debit card and her purse that she had in there.
Okay, and what about the iPad?
She never had an iPad in there.
Okay.
I took a picture of everything.
Okay, Cassandra, would you go over there, please? Take all of that stuff and move it over to the other table. Those cards belong to her?
Oh, this was my ID.
Okay. So now you want back what you paid for the car.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says you didn't finish paying for it. She had every right to repossess it. Let's take care of the car first.
Yes, ma'am.
How long did you drive the car?
From December of 2022 to May of 2023.
The beginning of December?
No, ma'am.
Around the middle, like,
All right,
my
so-
first payment was on the 12th.
Okay. When did you repossess the car?
I got it June 4th.
So let's make it January, February, March, April, May. So you had the car 5 months,
Yes, ma'am.
and you have the car now.
Yes, ma'am.
So she owed you really $100 when you took it back. Who paid the insurance on this car?
Everything was still in her name.
So she paid for the insurance. Is that right? Did you have insurance on the car or not?
No, ma'am.
No. Let me understand this. She's driving around with a car that's in your name that doesn't have insurance on it.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is the car now?
It's parked in my yard.
Where's the title to it?
I have it.
I'd like to see it. And you repossessed the car just a few months ago, is that right?
No, ma'am. June
June.
4th. Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's a couple of months ago.
Oh, okay.
Great. Where's the back of this title?
I just sent it as evidence. I don't have the title with me, but that's the title. It's in my name.
Have her sign this. You're signing over the title to the car for her. Sign it over. I'll notify. Sign it over to her. We're going to give you the $100 that she owes you. Sign it over to her. You do understand, Miss Flowers, you came here to court today from where?
Jacksonville, Florida.
And you want to get home, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you've got an appearance fee for coming here?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, all that's being withheld until you sign the title over to her. Do you understand?
Okay.
Great. Okay. So now you're going to have 5 days to get your car.
Your Honor.
And I'm awarding her on her counterclaim. You got your property back. I'm awarding her on her counterclaim. So far, $100, because that's what you owed her on the car. And it was done a few weeks ago. The car is there. Within 5 days, with a marshal, go and pick up your car. Do you understand? Okay. Within 5 days of today's date, she's coming to pick up the car with a marshal. Don't do anything to the car because you're not getting any cash until she has the car.
Okay.
Got it?
Got it.
Perfect.
Honesty Butler claims her former friend, Walteria Flowers, owes for the cost of a car and stolen property. Walteria is countersuing for the balance of the car and an assault.
Now, let's get to your counterclaim. I've already given you the remainder owed on the car, which is $100. But now your counterclaim is about an assault. Tell me when this assault took place.
It took place on June 3rd.
And what date did you retrieve the car, just from my memory?
It was June 4th. Well, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, so it was right after this fight.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So why don't you tell me what happened?
Me and her, after, we got into the little argument about the car, I blocked her on everything, and I just told her what she owed me. So she proceeds to threaten me, saying she would be at my house in my car, her and her cousin. So me and my...
Can I see what you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Did she tell this to you on the phone or in texts?
In text, miss.
I'd like to see the text.
I have a voice recording of her saying it.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to see that. It's even better. No, I'm deaf. It's even better. Now, is this argument, by the way, while you're looking for it, this argument was about the balance due on the car?
Yes, ma'am. It was something before that, but then it led to the car. I guess it's the service in here. It's having trouble.
You don't have service?
If you don't have service on the phone so I can hear it, I'll look at the texts.
Okay. Right here. Okay, yeah, that's...
Thank you. Okay, so before I read these, I gather from the plaintiff there was an incident that preceded June the 3rd.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and tell me on what date that incident was.
Okay, June 3rd, we got into this...
Well, I know what happened on June 3rd, but that was about the car.
Oh, no, ma'am. It was earlier that day that we was talking about whatever happened.
Okay, well, why don't you tell me about that?
Okay, so it was something going around on social media about people being behind a fake page or whatever. So I was exposed on a fake page. She was exposed
On a fake...
a fake Snapchat or something. It was something like people saying bad stuff about people on the Snapchat. So
You understand that?
No.
okay, so it was someone
I
made.
thought it was a younger thing, and I just didn't understand it. So That's
Okay, someone.
explain it to him.
Okay, someone made, Snapchat, right? Okay, someone made a Snapchat that nobody knows, like, who it belongs to. They posted pictures of me on there saying, bad stuff about me. They posted something about her also, and about my baby's father and, other people. So, Honesty texts one of the girls that they thought it was behind it and told them that it was me. By me and her still being friends, I was lost, like, why would you text someone that's not even friends with you saying that it was me? So she said, and I have it in the text message, in the evidence. She says that, and if I did say that, y'all shouldn't be behind fake pages anyways. Y'all too grown for that. Keep me out of that. So I said, to solve all that, just pay me the money you owe me. To make it fair, just pay the money you owe me for the car, and I sign over the title, and we have nothing else to talk about. Then I blocked her. So then she gets on Instagram and texts me and made a voice message about, oh, I don't owe you such and such. I'll be at your house when I get off in your car or whatever to fight. So me and my friends was at this park called Lonnie C. And Honesty came out there and went live, was on Facebook Live, and I have the video, and was saying all kind of stuff on the live about me towards me. And that's when she came up to fight me, like at the park.
Your Honor, that is not true.
Yes.
Okay.
I have the evidence.
Did you?
Yes. Rumors were being spread, but
On the internet.
on the internet, no one knows the source of the rumors. And then there were some allegations that maybe it was the defendant who was the source of the rumors, says not true, escalated, and then started live streaming a fight.
Right. She gets.
Okay. You have the live stream?
Okay.
Okay. So we just hit the play.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You can hit that play button right there.
Lie, you a lying. I got all the messages, and don't play with me about no $700, because bitch, I will be at your house when I get off work. Hold on, play with me. I don't owe you no $700, and you know I don't. You better find somebody to play with, bitch.
Works and plays well with others. Isn't that a check-off sign someplace? Okay, tell me what happened when you met with each other.
I was at the park already, me and my friends, the witness.
What were you doing at a park? How old are you?
I'm 21.
What do you do for a living?
I'm in nursing school.
How old are your children?
8 months and 2 years old.
Who do you live with?
It's me and my boyfriend. We got a house.
Boyfriend, the father of these two children?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were at the park with your friend with your children?
Oh, no, ma'am. It's just me, my friend, and my other friends. They always have stuff at the park, so.
Where were your children?
Well, one was in South Carolina, and the other one was with her grandmother,
Which one was in South Carolina?
my 2-year-old.
Who was in South Carolina?
I'm from South Carolina, so my family is there.
Who was the baby with?
Oh, her godmother.
Why?
Because we just sent her down there occasionally to be with her godparents.
Okay. So you were at the park. You went to the park.
No, ma'am, that is not true. I was with my friends and my cousin, and they had a graduation party. My friends was there. We went there after work. We was at the park first, which I can pull up the video and show you we was at the park first. They came to the park afterwards. I did not hit her first. She walked up to me because in the video, you're going to hear my friend saying, friend, turn around, turn around. She hit me, and I don't understand how it's assault because as they're breaking up the fight, none of the people I was with
May I
broke up the
see your
fight.
video
Yes,
where
ma'am.
she hit you first? I'd like to see that.
Okay.
Misty Butler has accused her former friend, Walteria Flowers, of taking her car without permission. Walteria is countersuing, claiming Honesty assaulted her after taking the car back.
She's going to show me a video, Miss Flowers.
Yes, ma'am.
And her video, according to her, let me just get this straight, is going to show you hitting her first.
No, ma'am, it's not.
It's not. I'm sorry. It's not going to show her hitting me first, but it's going to show me walking, and my friend is going to be saying, turn around, turn around. When I turned around and basically I dropped my phone, she hit me, and that's when we went to fight.
But that's not going to be on the video.
You're kind of going to see it a little bit.
All right, I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
A little bit is better than nothing, usually. You have also things that you want me to see on your phone?
Yes.
Would you get them up, please, so I...
Oh, it's up there.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
ma'am, I can.
Thank you.
I have the fight right here. The sound is right there. I already turned it. The only thing you have to play is the play button.
Okay, while she's looking for us, I'm going to take a look at this.
And here you go.
Who's the one on the ground?
I'm on the bottom. She's on top of me.
It's terrible. I don't understand it when women fight. It's just so. I mean, I can't understand when men fight either, but you sort of expect it of them. But I never understand how women can do physical contact with other women in anger. Can't understand it, not in anger either. All right, let me see what she's got.
Oh my God.
Give me the phone. All right, bitch, be coming right here. What?
It looked to me like there were times in that video when she was on top and times when you were on top.
I never got on top. She kicked me in the face and all while I was down. I never got on top.
Just said, were you wearing the red pants?
Pajamas, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you were wearing the red pants, right. I'll take a look at your pictures. It seemed as if somebody else who was in that mob, and it was very hard to tell, was kicking somebody.
Your Honor,
kicked me.
that was me. I kicked her. We were fighting, and her witness is she jumped in the fight, and she actually hit me in the head.
Love a person who tells the truth all the time. Right. Thank you. No. Okay. Ladies shouldn't fight. You shouldn't be in the same place together if you're not getting along together. You don't go to the park together. But this was a fight. Looked to me from that video is that you were both willing participants in that altercation. So I'm dismissing your counterclaim, with the exception of the $100 that she owes you for the balance of the car. So in this case, the car is transferred permanently to the plaintiff with her payment of $100. Your counterclaim for assault is dismissed. You have 2 children. Do you have kids?
No, ma'am.
Okay, well, don't fight. It's not ladylike. All right, we're done. We're done. Court is adjourned.
It was not a bad car. It is now because I don't know what she did to it, but it is not a bad car. But I'm just glad she got it back out my hands.
I took good care of the vehicle. I got it fixed multiple times, spent almost $2,700 into getting the car fixed.
It's just messed up, like drivable and everything.
She told me that she reported it stolen since it was in her name, but she actually kept a spare key, and she came into my yard at like 3 a.m., I believe she said, and she just drove off with it while I was asleep.
I guess because she's immature, and some people just do immature things.
We're no longer friends.
I think what we saw in there was 2 women square up, get into a fight. Obviously, no one wants to see it, a terrible result, but you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, and the court is not going to step in and figure out what happened here.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. People generally shouldn't fight. I always find it unnerving when I see women who are supposed to be triple process thinkers, all women, but especially somebody with 2 young kids. Take yourself out of harm's way. Don't put yourself in harm's way. But if you do, don't ask. You're right. Don't ask. Deal with the simple ones first. Miss Thornton,
Yes, ma'am.
you have a music company.
Somewhat.
Tell me what exactly you do.
I'm a disabled veteran. With my husband, we have a trucking company, and I also breed dogs.
What do you have to do with music?
I had something to do with music.
Because that's how you connected with the defendant.
You know, I initially connected with him. He was dancing. He does exotic dancing, and I went to a show.
So you were a spectator.
Yes.
And?
He led me on to that he did massages and he did different things, and he also made it known that he was trying to do music.
Was the show at a club or somebody's house?
It was a rented space.
And that's the first time you saw the defendant?
Correct.
Have you seen him again in that same kind of setting as an exotic dancer?
Once after the following year, in 2022, he invited me or asked me to come out and basically help him if he needed something, and he did need help that evening.
In between November of 2021 and what month in 2022?
That was March.
And March of 2022, had you built up a relationship with him?
Yes, ma'am.
And did there come a time between 21 and 22 that you had some sort of a music studio?
Yes.
Now, that's what I read in the papers. And what was the music studio for?
Artists to record.
Your Honor.
Did you
Okay.
did you rent it?
No, it was in my establishment.
What establishment?
It was an apartment that I rented out. It had 2 bedrooms. One of the rooms was a music studio, and it was for the
Okay,
use
it was
of-
an apartment
Yes.
that you rented.
Yes,
Where?
in Buckhead, Georgia.
When had you rented the apartment?
I rented the apartment in February of 2022.
In whose name?
My name.
Personal,
Yes, ma'am.
not in a company.
No.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out what you rented a 2-bedroom apartment for. You were married, you have kids.
Correct.
Were you living with your husband?
Yes, but we was estranged. We was separate.
Okay, so you were separated. And in what month and year did you and your husband separate?
In, I guess, January.
January of 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
It's like pulling teeth. And then you rented the 2-bedroom apartment. Did you ever live in the 2-bedroom apartment yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
So you lived in one of the bedrooms.
Yes, ma'am.
From when to when did you live in one of the bedrooms?
Up until June.
And then where did you go?
Back home.
You went back to your husband?
Yes.
Mr. Alford, did he live in that apartment?
He moved in February. He was homeless.
Just a second. So he moved in February. That's the answer.
Yes.
It's a 2-bedroom apartment. One of the rooms you said was a music studio.
Yes.
Was that one of the bedrooms?
Yes.
Did you and Mr. Alford stay in the same bedroom?
No.
That's a yes or a no. Let's just move on with it. Did you and Mr. Alford, when he moved in February, live in the same bedroom?
No.
Did he stay occasionally in the same bedroom?
Occasionally.
Yeah, all right. Did he pay any rent?
Never.
There was never an agreement for him to pay rent.
Yes, it was.
When? You're not suing for any rent.
That's because that's...
That's because that. Okay. Well, you're suing for a lot of other things, but you're not
Exactly.
suing him for rent.
No.
Okay. And he stayed there until when?
He stayed there under my lease.
Shh. Okay, what he stayed there. You moved out of your home
Yes, ma'am.
into this apartment in January of 2022. He moved into the apartment in February 2022. You moved out in June of 2022. I want to know when he moved out.
He moved out, I guess, in November when they gave him the eviction notice. But the lease was transferred into his name. He didn't have
just a
good
second.
enough credit.
Just a second.
So I transferred the lease into his name.
So you moved out in June and he stayed in the apartment?
Correct.
Okay. So far, is what she generally tells me through my questioning correct?
No.
With regard to the apartment?
No, ma'am.
Well, tell me your version, because this has nothing to do with the case, but has something to do with who I'm dealing with. Did you move into a 2-bedroom apartment, the lease of which was in the plaintiff's name?
No. She did help me, however, get the apartment. Her friend was a manager for the apartment complex, so it bypassed all, like, credit checks, all that. That got me
Mr.
directly.
Alford, I want you to pay careful attention to what I'm saying.
I'm sorry.
In February of 2022, was Miss Thornton also staying in the apartment?
No.
March 2022, was she staying in the apartment?
No.
Did she ever stay in the apartment?
Never stayed in my apartment.
Until what month and year did you live in the apartment?
I lived in an apartment when she first helped me get it, which was in 2022, and I just moved out. I currently...
Just a second. Just moved out?
Yes.
On what date?
Probably, I think it was like the end of this year. I'm currently still like a leaseholder there. She just texted me and asked me if I wanted to get my stuff out of the apartment.
Who did?
The leasing office.
Are you still there? That's either a yes or a no. Are you still there?
No.
Do you still have any property there?
Yes.
So then you're still there?
Yes.
So then you're still there. If you have property there, you know you're still there. What happened at the eviction hearing?
Is countersuing for the cost of French bulldogs and defamation.
Now, what happened at the eviction hearing?
They're aware of the situation.
Don't tell me what they're aware of. What happened?
Nothing happened. I'm letting them take ownership of the property. I'm giving it back to him.
When?
As soon as this case is over.
Why didn't you give it back to them when they evicted you? Have you been paying rent?
No.
Never.
She stated she pays the rent and I provide the artistry. Like, I do the art. I'm a performer. She pays the rent. That was our agreement. It's in my phone. I got it text message from her phone stating that during 2021 to 2022.
Is what you're saying the lease was in her name and she agreed to pay the rent? Well, then what do you want to show me?
It's in my name, but that's how I was paying the rent. She's giving.
She gave you the money.
Yes, she's giving from working. I'm the artist.
Never.
Just
Can I show you the check?
to say, did you file tax returns in 2022?
No, ma'am.
I'm not asking you a question. Did you file tax
Yes,
returns?
yes.
Yes. How much did you earn in 2022?
I never got anything back. My kids.
How much did you earn?
My kids get
A ballpark figure.
ballpark, 80,000.
Doing what?
Mel Entertainment, and then also, you know, the singing and stuff.
And now I'm going to move on because I'm getting really bored with this. I'm going to get first to the dogs. While you were in some sort of a relationship, and I know that you had to be in some sort of a relationship because you say so, right?
Yes.
Some sort of a relationship. And I don't know whether he was the cause of you leaving and moving into this or not. It's not particularly relevant. But one of the things, according to both of you, that you decide to do as a side hustle is breed little Frenchy bulldogs. Is that correct?
Correct.
In what month and year did you decide to do this?
He wanted a dog as a pet.
Just a second. Would you give me the answer?
Yes, ma'am. June of 2022.
At about the time that you were going back to your family, to your husband.
Actually, it was April of 2022. I'm sorry.
Okay. And according to you, you purchased 3 French bulldogs.
Yes, that he agreed to care for. Yes.
If you're going to answer my question with some more stuff, that's not going to be helpful to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you purchase them and how much were they?
They were all purchased from individual breeders. The first one was $4,500. The second one was $3,500, and the remaining one was $3,000.
Did you get them within a particular time period? A week, a month?
It got crowned, and then like 2 weeks later, got royalty.
And this was starting in April?
I gave the deposit in April. That's why I said it actually started in April. I picked up the dog in June.
And do you have the name of that person?
Yes, I do.
Do you know that person?
I do.
Okay. Mr. Alford, do you know this person? Look at me.
No.
You do not. Are you acknowledging that the first puppy that was bought with a deposit in April?
Yes.
And the deposit was how much?
$500.
And that was to hold the puppy from that litter?
Yes.
And when you picked up the puppy, the remainder of the $4,000 was paid?
Yes.
Let me see proof that it was paid
Yes.
by you.
To go on my phone for Crown because he's not suing for Crown, so I didn't bring Crown's paper.
Is it a fact that you are not requesting the return of this dog, Crown?
No, she paid for him.
Fine. So that's easy. Do you have the paperwork for Crown?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So if you have the paperwork for Crown, that paperwork should be signed over to Miss Thornton, correct? Since you're not suing for the dog, you acknowledge that she paid for the dog. Okay. So can I see the paperwork for Crown?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have Crown registered. I don't need that paperwork.
Great. All right. Take that out. Now, the next dog you purchased was
Royalty.
Royalty?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
In June 11th of 2022.
Right before you moved home?
I moved home right after having a miscarriage. He had sent me a derogatory text saying thanks for paying the rent, and he had me distraught, and I got out of there. And that's when I wanted to turn the lease over to him and everything.
Getting it. Slowly. I want to know why you got the second dog at this period of time. You were still together.
Because he said, let's breed. That way I
Okay,
can
so
pay
you
some
had
of your
Crown
loan.
already. And how much was royalty?
Royalty was $3,500.
Who paid for that dog?
I did.
May I see the proof of that?
Yes, right here.
Do you acknowledge, Mr. Alford, that the plaintiff paid for the second dog? And if you do not acknowledge that, show me where you took the money from to pay for the second dog?
It's not a fact.
Okay.
I have letter from the breeder. I have a receipt.
No, I don't want to see letter from the breeder or
And I
receipts.
have the contract.
Listen to me. I don't want to see letter from the breeder. I don't want to see a contract. I want to see where you took out the $3,500 from.
I don't have where I took it out. It was cash deal. It was cash.
I don't care if it was cash. You don't have that much cash.
That-
You'd have
that-
somebody else paying your rent, sir.
That's not true.
So, just a second. You have somebody else paying your rent. You do not take $3,500 out if you can't pay your own rent to buy a dog. If you did, you have a bank account.
Okay.
And you'll show me where you took $3,500 out.
I no longer have that bank account.
Well, and I no longer believe you. Okay, good. So,
I'll show you my bank account.
all this shows me, by the way, is a $500 deposit on June 11th.
And I have my
I'd like
bank
to
account
see.
because they only accept cash.
Just a second. Let me see where you took the money from.
Yes, ma'am.
You picked the dog up also in June.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'd like to see it. She's going to give you where she took the money from in June, and that would be $3,000 when she picked up the dog, or when she gave the money to the defendant to pick up the dog.
Thank you. Your Honor, where's 7,000 circled? Because I was supposed to get two. I was supposed to get her and her sister. They were both 3,500. But he said that the same dogs had the same bloodline and that wouldn't be.
Did you get two from the same?
No, I got one. And you can see where I gave
then
him on the 15th $1,000.
Okay, now, he says he has a contract. I don't want to see a letter.
Contract.
All I want to see is a contract that you said you had.
With the receipt? Can I send up the receipt as well?
You can submit a receipt, but a receipt says nothing. A receipt says you picked up the dog.
Amina Thornton has accused her former client, Donnie Alford, of assaulting her and keeping her dog's registration papers. Donnie claims Amina owes him the value of the French bulldogs.
I'd like to see what he has. He says he has a contract. I don't want to see a letter.
Contract.
All I want to see is a contract that you said you
With
had.
the receipt? Can I send up the receipt as well?
You can submit a receipt, but a receipt says nothing. A receipt says you picked up the dog.
Okay.
She has a contract for the sale of the dog. Canine contract. Now, she has seller's initials and buyer's initials.
And I also have a letter from the person at Breed stating that I was.
Just a second.
Okay.
I don't read letters from your friend. And that's who you said it was, correct?
No.
Just a second. That's who you said it was. Would you read that back to me? It's from a friend of mine. Is that what you said, sir?
There's two people that's listed on the dog agreement.
Never mind.
The woman is not
Never
my
mind.
friend.
He said one of my dance friends.
One of your dance friends. Yeah, thank you. I knew it friend, but one of the dance friends. Okay, this dog's finished. This is royalty. What do you want to show me about royalty?
This is an email asking the breeder if she would give me the papers being that he stole them.
No, I don't care about that.
Okay.
That's not only hearsay, it's not particularly relevant. What's the third dog's name?
Prince.
Who did you buy Prince from and when?
I brought him from Mr. in my town, in my county, on August 16th, I believe.
You had already moved back home.
Yes, ma'am.
To your family.
Yes, ma'am.
And he was, at that time, living in this two-bedroom apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
May I see proof that you paid for Prince?
Yes, ma'am.
While she's looking for that, Mr. Alford, do you have any proof that you paid for Prince?
No, I do not.
Okay. Did Miss Thornton pay for Prince?
She paid partial of the money.
Did you pay any of the money?
Yes.
How much did you pay?
I think I sent over $2,500 for him.
Show me.
I can't. I only have the registration papers.
Well, I don't care about the
and
registration
she
papers.
knows I doesn't have my old phone to pull up the receipts.
Listen,
All I have
listen.
is what I have.
That doesn't help me, Mr. Alford, at all. The fact
understand.
I got what I got. This is what I got. I don't have that. We're not talking about 10 years ago. We're talking about bank records where you can pull up bank records. You don't need a phone. All you need to do is take your legs and go over to the bank and say, can I have my withdrawals, please, for August of 2022? We're not even in August of 2023. They will pull it up and say $2,500 in August. This is what you paid. You understand that, sir? You're a smart man.
Your Honor.
Not necessarily an honest man, but a smart man. May I see the proof, please?
This is the...
Shh.
Okay.
Just show him.
And that's the $2,500.
Okay. Now, what you are suing for are the papers for those 2 dogs.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You have any other proof that you want to show me with regard to the ownership of these 2 dogs that's not hearsay, Mr. Alford? Plaintiff has the physical custody of the 2 dogs. Is that right? All 3?
September of 2022. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You have physical custody. You have any other proof that you contributed to the payment of the dogs?
No.
Okay, good. So this court will...
Unless you want the letter. And
forget
you
it.
can verify the
Forget
letter.
it.
She's not my friend, though.
I don't care whether you paid the money,
Judge.
sir, whether you turned over the money. The question is, was it your money?
Yes.
Well, you have no proof
my
that
money.
You have no proof that it was your money. In any event, go ahead.
She doesn't even care about the dogs. I have proof that she said as soon as the dog has its last litter, I'm going to throw it in the trash and you could get her back. She doesn't care about the dogs.
Well, it's too bad then that you went into business with her. But she has physical custody of the dogs. There's nothing that I'm going to do about that, sir. You haven't had the dogs in your possession for almost a year.
I can't get them from her.
Well, that's...
Your Honor,
there's no
just
way
a
for me
second.
to get the
Just a
dogs from
second.
her.
I'm issuing an order to the AKC that this court makes a determination that the plaintiff is the owner of these 3 dogs, the 2 of which are in dispute right now, and that new registration papers should be reissued in her name.
And Your Honor...
Don't speak.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm finishing up with this because I'm almost done with it. Okay, I don't want to much hear about personal property. You now have the dogs in their possession. Did one of the dogs have a litter?
Yes, she did.
Okay. How many puppies?
5.
When were they born?
April 6th.
Any of them sold yet?
No.
Who's taking care of them?
Me.
Well, you're here. Who's taking care of them now?
My husband. I'm sorry.
All 3 dogs are still with you?
I have 5 dogs. Yes, ma'am.
You have 5 altogether. What
Yes, ma'am.
kind?
All French Bulldogs.
Okay, now, let's deal with this assault. You want to tell me what the assault was about?
He was angry because I would not pay the rent anymore. Once the dogs became in my custody, which was September of 2022, I stopped paying rent. I stopped paying everything. And he began to request loans at that point.
You mean in person or on the phone or how?
Loans?
No. Were these demands made in person or over the phone? You moved out. You're now home with your husband and children.
I still would be in contact with him because of the music. So, yes.
Well, what did you have to do with the music?
I basically financed everything. I paid for everything. He had no money. He had this dream. He was homeless at the time. And I...
Okay, so you had an argument after you refused to pay the rent.
I have
and that was
pictures of his
just
stuff in trash bags.
Just a second. You had a disagreement about the rent.
Yeah.
In September of 2022.
It was more than the rent, ma'am.
Whatever you had a disagreement about, you say he assaulted you. Tell me where you were when this took place.
Actual assault took place in December. I was staying
December
away from
of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Where did it take place?
Assault on her or nothing.
What?
I never been charged with assault on her
Just
or
a
nothing.
second. Where did it take place?
The assault took place in the apartment.
So you were there in the apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
Please. Case 3046, Wyatt versus Moore.
Thank you. Welcome. Miss Wyatt, how long were you and Mr. Moore in a relationship?
We've known each other for about 18 years.
Did you ever live together?
On a couple of occasions.
When was the last time you lived together?
January, I believe, 2022.
Were you living in a house or an apartment?
It was a house.
Was it a lease?
Yes.
Was the lease in your name, Mr. Moore's, or both?
No. Apparently, it was an arrangement that he had with the person that he gave the money to. There was no paper.
We're getting far off the field, but it's getting more interesting. Now, Mr. Moore, Miss Wyatt, although I believe she probably has a good memory of this, I have just a sense that she's reluctant to give me information about this for whatever reason. In January of 2022, sir, you and the plaintiff were living in a house together.
No.
When were you living in a house together?
We've never had a relationship. We've never lived together. When you say live together, I come over. I got a girlfriend I've been having for the whole time, so I've never lived with her.
Do you remember the house she's talking about,
Yes,
sir?
I do.
All right.
The one she
I don't want you,
destroyed.
just a second. I don't want you to play around with me.
Okay, I'm not.
Okay. Do you know the house she was talking about when the two of you were together some of the time in a house in January of 2022? That's a yes or a no?
Still a no.
Okay, so the house that she's talking about, you lived in alone?
I lived in with my girlfriend, actually.
Oh, just a second. Did Miss Wyatt ever come to stay in that house with you before you had your then current girlfriend?
When I first got the apartment, Miss Wyatt was gonna come. She didn't get along with the lady upstairs. She said she wouldn't come, destroyed the house and left.
Okay, well, if she destroyed the house, then she was in the house. Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
If she destroyed the house, then she was in the house. And if she didn't get along with the lady upstairs, she wouldn't know that unless she actually lived there, because she's not telepathic.
Okay.
So she was, in fact, there.
I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm trying to understand what you're saying, man.
What I'm saying is not difficult. She did, in fact, stay there with you for a while after you got this house.
Okay.
Not okay.
No, I'm seeing where you're trying to go with that. I'm trying to see what you're establishing. Yes, she did stay there. I'm agreeing with you. That was me saying yes, ma'am.
Taken a long time, but we're there. Okay. And then at some point, Miss Wyatt, you left there and you went into your own apartment?
Yes.
Okay, and where is your apartment?
I moved into a trailer.
That you were renting?
Yes.
I just want to know. I'm getting ahead of myself, but that's the trailer that he was supposed to pay rent on and utilities on when you went to jail?
Yes, ma'am.
So from 2020 until the time you went to jail for, what, 18 months?
78 weeks. Or, I'm sorry, 78 days.
What did you go to jail for?
In 2018, I received a, I'm sorry.
Just a second. 2018, you had a conviction.
Yes, I ended up serving the time in 2022 for
theft.
Correct. I stole Thanksgiving dinner, ma'am.
Are you sure? It sounds like 78 days is a lot. Were you on probation first?
Yes.
Did you take a plea in that case?
Yes.
Okay. And as part of the plea, you were placed on probation?
Correct.
What was the crime that you pled guilty to? I want to understand this. What, was it petty theft? Was it grand larceny? What was it?
No, it was retail fraud / shoplifting for $170.
Okay.
That's what it's
And you were placed on probation.
Yes.
Why was your probation violated? Because that clearly was why you went to jail for 78 days, not because of an old crime, but because you violated probation.
I wasn't keeping in contact with my probation officer like I was supposed to.
Okay. So this case is about the fact that you asked Mr. Moore, who you knew for a long time, to take care of your expenses, your bills, while you were incarcerated, and you gave him your phone.
Yes.
Your phone had the wherewithal, and he understood that because he acknowledges he used it to take money out of your bank account and pay bills, et cetera, with it. And you acknowledged that she gave you her phone for that purpose.
She gave me her phone, not to pay bills, but to give her commissary and to keep up with her stuff.
Pay her bills, some to put in her commissary, and the last thing you said was pay her bills and...
Put money in her commissary and keep up with some stuff.
That's the keeping up with some stuff is what we're talking about here, sir. Keeping up with what stuff?
Phone bill, I mean...
Just a second.
Go ahead.
Now it's going to get difficult.
Okay, I'm listening.
Do you understand? I know you are, sir. Keeping up with other stuff. Phone bill.
She bought a...
Jump.
I'm sorry, I'll wait till you
What
ask
else?
the question.
Phone bill?
She ended up buying a computer at that time.
No, I'm asking you.
So, no, I'm telling you, that came off the monies that was there. She was incarcerated. So as a lot of things just come off the phone as a bill, like...
No, I'm asking you what you...
What did I?
What you were supposed to take care of.
It was never etched out. And what I'm saying is she wanted me to stay at her house while she was gone. And that was a means for her to keep in touch with me or keep in contact.
Okay, no. That's something that I didn't get out of this. So she wanted you to stay in her trailer, because she was living in a trailer at the time while she was incarcerated.
Yep.
Where had you been living?
At my house. That's where I currently live now, with my girlfriend.
With your girlfriend. She wanted you to stay in her trailer?
Yeah.
With your girlfriend?
No. She wanted me to be there so she can keep up with me. That was a means of me having her phone and being in her car and being other thing would be a way for her to keep up with me while she was incarcerated.
And did you like that idea, Mr. Moore?
Not
Just
really.
a second.
No.
I mean, did your girlfriend like that idea?
Not at all.
So why didn't you say to her, I don't want your phone and I don't want any responsibility? Shh, listen to me. I'm living with my girlfriend. We're not an item anymore. And I don't want that tie because My girlfriend knew that I was staying sometimes in your trailer and not being home. That wouldn't be a good thing. So I'm not going to take your phone. Find somebody. Who are you?
Andrew Porter. I'm her son.
You're her son. Is there anything wrong with you?
No.
Do you talk to your mother?
Yeah.
Yes. Do you work?
Yes.
Yeah. So your mother could have given you her phone and said, pay the bills.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
You can stand next to your mother. It's getting more fascinating by the moment. I want to tell you something.
Claims her ex-boyfriend, John Moore, misused money she gave him while she was in jail. John is countersuing for a false arrest.
So, do you understand, Miss White? I know that you thought it was going to be easier when you came here.
No, I did not. But
I'm very glad, because I have a feeling I could scratch the surface and I'd find more dirt. The more I scratched.
You would.
The more I scratched. Well, I have no intention of spending my life on this nonsense, because now I see that you have a perfectly normal child, an adult child, to whom you could have assigned the task of paying your bills. And I assume that you trusted him more than you trusted this guy, who seems to have a girlfriend, but then, you know, it could be convenient. He can go here.
It's never painted that way when it's in the midst of things, but he...
I also work out of state.
What?
I work out of state. I'm like a field engineer, so I'm only in Michigan maybe a couple weeks at a time.
That's okay.
And then,
paying your bills doesn't mean that you have to be in Michigan. You can pay your bills, and you could have done all of those things, except anyway, this is your case. You allege that Mr. Moore took money out of your account, a couple of $1,000.
$781 of that he gave to me while I was in jail, but the remainder he can't account for anything that he did.
So somebody did put in your commissary?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, he said he also sent you, there was $600 in the account when he gave the phone back to you. Was there $600 in the account when you were released from jail?
What's the date of that?
What's the date of it, sir?
She asked the question, but the answer did I give it to her? I don't have it. I didn't know I was going to come to court, so I didn't. But if I look at my phone, I'm quite sure, because all our transactions were via Cash App.
What do you mean you didn't know you were coming to court? Where did you think you were coming today?
When we were in this situation, never did I think we would be sued.
Oh.
So I wasn't keeping tally.
But now you know you're coming to court, so it would seem to me if there's an allegation in your answer that I returned the phone to her, there was still $600 in the account, at least I would have that document.
Give me a second, I can get right to it.
I can give you a second.
I believe that amount was for the August rent on it.
Just a second. All I'm asking you is, did he put $600 when he gave you the phone? Was there still $600 in the account?
No, that was like a month after. That was for August.
What do you mean it was for August? What does that mean?
For the August rent. This whole thing with not living with me and not being with me or whatever is untrue. When I got out of jail, we were supposed to be working together, living together. This was no anything like he's describing with having somebody else or anything like that.
I would like to see, Mr. Moore, when you gave her back the phone, that there was $600 on the phone.
It's her phone. I'm not
Just
sure.
Just a second.
I'm saying I don't have evidence of her phone.
Okay, now.
But if you asked her, she'll tell you I gave her $600.
You say that the money that you used, and you acknowledge that you used some of the money, was because you drove her car for a half a block.
Nope, it was more than a half a block.
Well, just a second, let me see.
It says that.
Just a second. I drove her car 1 block to my job. So it wasn't a half a block. Just a second. I drove her car 1 block. I apologize, it wasn't half a block. Put your hand down. To my job when she was in jail, and the alternator went out, and it was impounded. Now explain that to me. You drove her car, you had your own. For some reason, you drove hers. Why don't you give me a 1 sentence as to why you drove hers?
1 sentence.
1 sentence.
On my truck, I had my equipment, my lawn equipment, and I was just going 1 block away, so I didn't want to have to turn it around. And the car was impounded at my job, 1 block away from my house.
Why was it impounded?
Because it stopped on it. The alternator stopped.
Just a second. Cars aren't impounded because an alternator stopped.
The alternator stopped in the middle of the street. I couldn't move it. They had to tow it because it was in the driveway. They towed the car because the alternator stopped.
What you said? Well, that's your fault, sir.
It's my fault her alternator went out?
Yes, sir. It's your fault that the car was impounded.
I'm listening. No, I'm really trying to understand.
I want you to listen. Yes, it's your fault, and I don't know what other nonsense there is here, but if Sarah was driving her car and it stopped running because the alternator went out, I'm going to take a guess and I'm going to say, Sarah, what would you do if your car stopped running in a driveway, blocking the driveway? What would you do?
Call AAA.
Call AAA. Call a tow truck. And you would call a tow truck and ask the tow truck to take it to a...
Auto repair shop.
To an auto repair shop. Your first clue would not be just to leave the truck there and say, send it to impound.
No, it happened.
Just a second. Mr. Moore, please try not to test yourself on the dumb scale. Nobody who's responsible because a car breaks down leaves it in the middle of the road to be impounded. That doesn't make sense. It's illogical. Second thing I'm concerned about is when your car is impounded, in order to get it out of impound, which you say that you did, you have to show proof of title.
Yes.
Yes. Now, how did you get proof of title?
Because I had the title. I had the title.
Just a second. I hear the wheels. I hear. You had the title because?
I had access to her house.
Well, the title is in her name.
Right.
They wouldn't give you the car. You're not her. I mean, I would look at you and I say, not even close. Unless she gave you authorization in writing to get the car out for her, no impound service is going to let you take her car because anybody can pick up a title and say, I want that car out. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you want to try that again with me?
Here's my question. I end up getting a...
No, just a second.
Okay.
I want you to tell me where it was impounded.
It was impounded at my job. It was impounded and it was in a place that was a high traffic. I walked back to the house.
Yeah, I want to tell you something. You wouldn't know the truth if it came up and slapped you in the face, Mr. Moore.
That's what happened.
You wouldn't know the truth if it came up and slapped you in the face and introduced itself to you.
Okay.
Now, how much did it cost to get the car out of impound?
It cost me $1,000 total.
No, it didn't cost you anything because you took it out of her phone. Didn't cost you. It cost $1,000
to get it insured, retitled, so I could have the ability to get the car out.
Well, how did you get her name on the title?
What you mean?
What do you mean, what do I mean? She has to sign it over to you in order to...
It was already signed over to me. It was already signed over. It was already signed. I sell cars, Miss Judy.
Just a second. You don't sell cars. You just told me that your car broke down on the way to your place of business.
Yes, to my job.
On your job, and your job is not an auto mechanic or salesman for a car service, which is what you told me. I sell cars, Miss Judy. That's why the title was turned over to me, signed over, and I managed to get the car titled in my name. You want to try this on for me?
Judge Judy, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you, but I was in a situation where it was impounded. They were charging $30 every single day, and she would have lost her car. So
just say you...
Just a second.
No, I didn't.
Just a second.
I didn't forge anything.
Well, you had to have forged something, sir. Because if it was in impound, and what you're saying is they were charging $30 a day, she was going to lose her car. Your next statement was, because you keep digging that hole a little deeper and a little deeper, you couldn't get it out because the car was in her name, not yours, but you had the title because you had access to the trailer, which is what she's suggesting, and you went and forged her signature, got a new title, got insurance, and the car was clearly towed, but you got it out of impound, that's what you said, with a new title in your name and insurance, also, I assume, in your name.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you do with the car?
Gave it back to her when she got out.
Just a second. You gave it back to her. Did you sign over the title?
Yes.
Shh. So you...
Bill Wyatt has accused her ex-boyfriend, John Moore, of stealing her money while she was in jail. John is countersuing, claiming Jill had him falsely arrested.
Now, did you sign over the title to her?
I signed over everything to her because she sold the car since then.
Oh, did you sell the car?
Since all this?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. But he's...
I'm what?
He's what?
I had to go through the police department and the sheriff's department and threaten him in order to get my title back. He would not give me back my title.
Not at all.
Do you have any proof of that?
Any proof of?
That you had to go through the police department, sheriff's department, or anything else in order to get your title back. Do you have any proof of that at all?
I don't have any proof of that, ma'am.
Okay. So it was $1,000 for impound that he took out of your account.
Correct.
That's $1,000.
No.
And
Okay.
Did you take out $1,000 from her account to get it out of impound? Well, you just said, show me that you paid $1,000 to get it out of impound.
I can't show it to you because all the paperwork was in the car.
Did you pay impound by credit card or
paid
cash?
It by cash.
Cash. Then you would have taken cash out.
I had a job, Judge Judy.
You're so full of baloney, sir.
I did have a job, Judge Judy.
You're so full of baloney. Okay, $1,000.
Okay.
Next, you say in your answer, Mr. Moore, that you paid for it. You paid for it out of our money. You say in your answer you paid for it out of our money.
Judy, that's kind of going back and forth.
Oh, listen.
We've split money back and forth. If I give you a copy of our Cash App, it's the exact same money back and forth over the last couple of years. I sent her money, she sent me.
Just a second. Why would she do that, sir, if you have a girlfriend?
I'm monogamously challenged.
Listen. Why would you do that back and forth if what you said to me earlier was, I don't know what she's talking about. I live with my girlfriend in the same place as I'm living now. Now let's move on to, so far I have $1,000. And I really, Miss Wyatt, don't understand anything else. And I'm not spending any more time with your case. That's the person who should have been taking care of your business, not this nonsense.
Yes.
Not this nonsense, because I'm not exactly sure whether I'm getting the whole story from this side either. All right, now you have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim is for $2,000 for having you falsely arrested.
Yes, ma'am.
Let us move on with falsely arrested. After she gets out of jail, according to what I read, the two of you are kaput.
No.
Well, okay, here we go. We're going to go back to your answer and your counterclaim, sir. I'm going to read you what I said. On February 13th, I went out to a few bars to have a good time. Jill was at a different bar, but came and met me where I was at. Upon arrival, you're not paying attention.
Yes, I am listening to you.
On arrival, Jill started to pressure me to leave with her. I reminded her that we were no longer an item, and I didn't want to leave. She was making a scene, so we went outside to finish our conversation. That's your counterclaim. Now, pick it up from there. That's what you wrote. Try to remember.
I wasn't going anywhere.
Okay.
And then she told me, I'll show you. But you told me this thing's, Judge Judy, if it's not accurate, would you want me to let you go ahead? Because I didn't write that. I signed it to them. They told me I'd be able to explain this to you as we're doing this here. I stopped and said, hell no, that didn't happen. No, we didn't fight. It wasn't one block. They said, you'll get a chance to explain that to the judge.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't listen to anybody else. So when you sign a document that says, Flash Moore, being duly sworn, deposes and says that this is accurate.
We didn't live together. We still
Would you mind telling me what happened in the bar on February 13th?
She told me she was going to get me locked up for domestic violence because I had assaulted her. I had not assaulted her. I told her whatever, and I walked back into the bar. Sat down, the police pulled up, and they said, sir, would you come step outside? Excuse me. They said, would you come step outside? I stepped outside. They said, put your hands behind your back. We're locking you up for domestic violence.
May I please have a copy of your complaint?
I can give you all this, what I have from...
Don't give me all that you have.
So you saying the complaint, I was arrested on the spot.
There was a disposition in that case.
Yes, they dismissed it.
Okay.
This is all complaint to the disposition.
Oh, here we go. The case was dismissed in the interests of justice because you agreed to pay her restitution for, just a second. Yeah. That's what, you agreed to pay her restitution in the amount of $246, which I assume represents the broken eyeglasses that she says that you broke. This says receipt of restitution monies. Same case. I, John Moore, state that I have delivered a check in the amount of $246 to the Calhoun County Prosecutor's Office. It is my understanding that this check represents the amount of restitution that is owed to the victim, according to the agreement entered into by the defendant. So you paid restitution.
Excuse me. Judge, I'm trying to, if you say something, I want to clarify.
Just a second.
Go ahead.
Did you sign this?
When I can talk.
Did you sign this?
Yes, ma'am.
Then you're cooked.
So if
it's over.
I got a question for you.
No, I don't answer your questions.
If I get off of work, I've been to this court case 5 times in a row. It cost me $200 and some to come to court, and they said we'll dismiss all charges. There'll be no charges at all if you agree to pay $250. I've paid $800 coming to court. So why wouldn't I just say, hey, here, I'll pay you the money, and then try to sue you for false arrest? Because I never harmed. Where's the glasses at?
Right. Now,
Where's the picture of the glasses? The police arrested me on the spot.
Mr. Moore, like a perennial victim, I really feel sorry for you. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
So if I'm getting arrested
Mr.
for
Moore,
doing anything, why wouldn't I pay
it's dismissed.
$250
Judgment
and
for
not
the
have to go to
plaintiff
court?
in the amount of $1,000. Your counterclaim's dismissed. I am finished with this case permanently.
Thank you. Have a great day.
This court is adjourned.
It went just like I thought it would be.
I'm pleased with the results.
She mad I don't want to deal with her anymore.
My guards are up now.
Hey, she wanted to get her day in court. I can leave with it.
Not ask anybody for help.
She the one was locked up for. I've never been locked up for stealing. She was locked up for stealing. That's the thief. The pot calling the kettle black.
Just to be careful who you trust.
There was a great line from the defendant out there. I don't think anyone caught it. But when you asked, how is it possible that you could live with the plaintiff and have your girlfriend and all at the same time? How's that possible? And then he moved on to something else and continued rambling. But he said, Miss Judy, I'm monogamously challenged. I'm monogamously challenged. And I heard it and I started laughing and I saw no one else made any sort of reaction. And I said, I must have been the only one that heard that, or I misheard that. But I'm pretty sure that was his excuse.
It's a great line, and it's true.
Yeah, it seemed very true in that case.
I have a feeling there's a lot more there.
Yeah.
But it was
a lot more dirt to scratch.
A lot more there, but enough.
Oh.
That's a funny line. Monogamously challenged.
5, Mello versus Pilgrim. All parties, please step forward.
Joy Mello is suing her former attorney, Larry Pilgrim, for the cost of a suit her son wore during his trial.
Miss Mello, I am certain that you are very sad.
Yes.
You have every right to be sad.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, your son was tried and convicted of murder in 2021.
That's correct.
And currently is serving a life sentence.
That is correct.
You had retained Mr. Pilgrim, who is an attorney, to represent him during that trial.
Yes.
Were you the person who paid him?
My family did collectively, but I worked 3 jobs to make payments until his money was paid in full.
Mr. Pilgrim represented him, I believe, from 2019 to 2021. Is that correct, sir?
Correct. September of 2019 until the trial in December of 21.
Who was he convicted of murdering?
The gentleman's name was Kenny. I'm sorry.
An acquaintance?
I think they knew each other, yes, but they were rivals. It was a love interest, love triangle type of case.
Got it. This is what the case is about. It's not a difficult case. When the trial began, your son was allowed to wear civilian clothes rather than prison attire to court, and you went out and bought him clothes for about $700. And according to you, you asked Mr. Pilgrim, when the trial was over, to please get the clothes. And Mr. Pilgrim, according to you, assured you he would get the clothes back to you, and you never got the clothes back.
Never.
And Mr. Pilgrim says, you know, once prisoner is convicted and they go back from the courtroom, they take these clothes. He doesn't know what happens to them. And they went probably into a large room where people who are similarly situated to your son, but who don't have a mother to buy them clothes, can go in and choose something to wear in court other than an orange jumpsuit. He has no idea where the clothes are, correct?
That's correct.
Joy Mello claims her former attorney, Larry Pilgrim, refuses to pay for the cost of a suit her son wore during his trial.
All right, Ms. Pilgrim, this is not a very difficult case. This is a case about being sad and mad at the wrong person. So I want you to tell me on what you base your case that he is responsible for the clothes that your son wore.
I gave the clothes to Mr. Pilgrim. I purchased them at his request, gave him the clothes. When he didn't return them, I went to the sheriff's department. I asked what the procedure was. They said the attorney in question is to pick up the clothes. That's his responsibility. I wrote a letter.
You know that you can't tell me that. I'm just telling you that because that's hearsay.
Yes, ma'am.
You went to the sheriff's department. You went to the sheriff's department. Somebody told you it was the lawyer's responsibility. I actually have never heard that.
Okay. And I wrote a letter to the judge, the trial judge, who told me.
Don't tell me what the trial judge told you.
I have it.
I would like to see
the letter.
I would like to see. Don't give me a whole bunch of stuff.
I'll give you the letter that I wrote to the judge and his response.
Fine. Okay, the judge was very nice.
Very nice.
Very nice to answer you. It seems that your family should have bigger fish to fry than these clothes. Judge says this matter has been researched and it was determined that your son's clothing was returned to Conflict Criminal Defenders Coordinator by the Sheriff's Department. Please reach out to that office.
And I did.
And?
They told me that
You can't tell me what they told you. If you have an official correspondence, I'll read it.
No, I do not.
Okay.
I only have, again, the procedure.
There's no procedure. You were told by the court. You reached out to them.
Yes.
This is an official
They said
document.
they didn't know where I can't tell you that they didn't tell me. They told me they had no idea that all the clothes went in one big bag.
I don't care where they went. He doesn't have your son's clothes. How tall is your son?
5'10", 10 and a half.
So he's 5'10" and a half. How tall are you?
5'10".
Yeah, how much does he weigh?
Now?
No, then.
About 190,
Yeah,
190 pounds.
Do I have to say? More than 190.
You don't have his clothes, do you?
No, certainly not.
Mr. Pilgrim, because this is all a matter, in my view, looking at Miss Mello, and she appears to be a very nice lady. When something sad happens like this, you have various emotions, and very often you choose the wrong target for your anger. In this case, a lot of time was spent, over $700 worth of clothes for a young man who's serving 50 to life for murder. You have other children, Miss Mello?
Yes, I do.
How many other children do you
I have 4 other children. My daughter, she's a witness. And the clothes, actually, my sons could have worn them.
It's possible. It's not his responsibility. The judge told you where to go.
He told me where the clothes went.
He doesn't know where the clothes went. I would actually be willing to wager an awful lot that he doesn't have your clothes.
That's who I gave them to.
No, you gave them to your son. He was the conduit between you and your son. The last person who you saw wearing those clothes was your son.
That's correct.
Okay, so after that, you don't know what happened to them. You may have given it to them, just like if you walked into a courtroom and handed them to Kevin, and then you didn't see them again. Say, Kevin, I gave you the clothes. Well, he gave them to whom they were designed to be given. That doesn't mean Kevin's responsible if you don't get your clothes back. That's the same thing with Mr. Pilgrim. Your anger is directed at the wrong person, Miss Mello. I don't know the circumstances surrounding the death of Kenny, but your son was convicted by 12 people. And the judge found the circumstances of that conviction egregious enough to sentence him to 50 years to life. That's who your anger should be directed against your son, not him.
But I'm not angry. I just want my money for the clothes that I spent.
You're not going to get it from him. He's not responsible for your clothes. Cross it off your list after 2-3 years. That's $700. Cross it off because you don't know where the clothes are. They were on some other prisoner who had to appear in court for robbery and assault and who didn't have a nice enough mother to buy him clothes. So he got your clothes, or they were donated to a parish, or they were donated someplace else. Mr. Pilgrim is not responsible for the clothes. The last person who you saw in possession of the clothes was your son.
Correct.
Goodbye. Case is dismissed.
This court is adjourned.
I'm disheartened because the amount that I spent on my son's clothes, and I did give them to the lawyer.
You know, it was sad for her and her whole family, the whole incident.
He should have been responsible to retrieve my property.
And I agree with the judge that I think she just had some misdirected anger.
You know, I think just the takeaway from this case is that people have an easier time dealing with the emotion of anger than sadness. And we see it all the time. You know, if somebody passes away, the grief can overwhelm you. But if you can find a target for your anger, anger is the easier emotion to deal with, because the plaintiff in this case seemed like an intelligent, put-together lady. Certainly the family came together. I'm certain that this lawyer was not inexpensive. But the bottom line is that she doesn't have the companionship of this son anymore, because I can't think of any other reason that over 2 years you maintain this sort of vendetta for used clothing. So, lady has to put her anger where it belongs, which is the person who committed a murder and who not only ruined his own life, but probably impacted his whole family. Because that's what happens when you go to jail, you impact the whole family.
Adam Snyder and Julie Alice are suing their former employee, Trevor McCormick, for breaking his lease, the cost of a phone, as well as a personal loan.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Case number 2031, Snyder Alice versus McCormick.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Snyder, you own a farm,
I do.
and this is your girlfriend.
Yes.
How long has she been your girlfriend?
5 years tomorrow.
You say that as if 5 years tomorrow. And?
And I'm just saying, it's 5 years.
5 years tomorrow.
Yeah.
And?
And the rest of our lives.
Okay, good. He know that?
No, he's learning.
He's learning. Terrific. Okay, this is what I'm gathering from the bare bones of the story. Mr. McCormick was dating an employee of yours.
Correct.
What was that employee's name?
Natasha.
When were you dating the lovely Natasha?
We weren't really dating. We were an acquaintance.
Where was Natasha living?
She was living, when we first met, she was living at a friend's house. And she was working for Adam as an employee at a restaurant.
And when was that? Month and year?
I'd say around September of last year.
September 2021?
Yes.
And?
And we decided to move out because Adam had.
Well, so you were living with Natasha at the friend's house?
Yes.
Where had you been living before?
My mom's.
So you went from mom's house to Natasha and a friend's house?
Yes.
Okay. And then where did you go?
Then we moved into the trailer right next to Adam that he owned.
Who had a discussion with Mr. Snyder about potentially renting the trailer so you would have a place to live? And what kind of rent were you paying?
I believe it was $800.
And you moved into the trailer when?
Around November.
Of 2021?
Yes.
And you lived in the trailer till when?
About March.
March of 2022?
Yes.
In March, what happened?
Me and Natasha weren't getting along. I just had enough.
There was never a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship.
No.
She was just a friend. Did you know that?
That is not true.
So what did you do?
I asked Adam if I could move into the ranch house. There was nobody living there at the time.
Where were you living?
I live at my home with Julie.
Okay, and there's a ranch house on the farm.
I have a ranch house on a separate piece of property.
Close by to the farm?
Yes, 3 miles.
That was vacant?
Correct.
Okay, so you asked to rent it?
Yes.
Who was going to rent it?
I was.
Just you?
Yes, just me.
How much was the rent?
It was $800.
And this was in March?
Yes.
Prior to March of 2022, what kind of work were you doing?
I was working at a factory.
How long did you work there?
About a month.
What month?
March.
Prior to March, where were you working?
On Adam's farm.
From when to when?
I'd say about December until March.
Well, in December to March, you were living in the trailer.
Yes.
Okay. And you were living with the lovely Natasha.
Correct.
And Natasha, I assume, was contributing to the rent.
Yes.
And how much were you contributing to the rent? Is not an answer. How much were you contributing to the rent from December to March of
Couple
2021?
hundred. Couple hundred a month.
That's not an answer. A couple of hundred a month. How much do you pay for rent? $316 a month and 24 cents. How much does it cost to have your garbage picked up? $59.12. Do you understand? Certain things change. What was your electric bill last year? I don't remember. What was your bill last month? I don't remember.
$300, ma'am.
You see? But I mean, a couple is two.
Yes.
Who did you pay that to?
Natasha.
Well, I can't tell whether you paid that to Natasha or not. Did you ever discuss rent with Mr. Snyder?
No.
Even in the trailer?
Even in the trailer.
So that was all done through Natasha?
Correct.
Okay. But according to you, you worked someplace in March, but before that you worked on the farm.
Yes.
From when to when? December to March?
Yes.
Beginning, middle, or the end of December?
The middle, the 16th.
Is that about right?
If you want to call
Just
helping...
helping whatever.
Yes.
December 16th. Okay. And from December 16th, you did whatever work it was on the farm until March?
Yes.
March what?
Till I moved out.
No, March what? Beginning, middle, and...
28th.
And what was the rent in the ranch house? The ranch house must have been nicer than the trailer you were living in.
$800.
You moved in April?
Yes.
How much money did you give him?
$900.
Some was to go towards security?
I was in between jobs, and that's what I had. So we made an agreement that I'd pay $900 the week of, and then so on and so on. I don't
What's
have
the so on and so on?
I don't have the copy of the lease. He never gave me it.
Did you sign a lease?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
I have it right here. In the back of the contract, you'll see where we wrote down he would pay $900
Just a second.
on the 8th.
Okay, so the security deposit was supposed to be $1,200. You paid $800.
Paid $900.
The security deposit was 12, and you paid 9 of security deposit?
I paid 9 total, ma'am.
Well, how many months did you live there?
Not even 1.
When did you move out?
April 24th, I moved out.
Is that correct?
That's close, yes.
Okay.
I don't know exactly when he moved out because he didn't tell me he was moving out. He just locked the door.
Okay.
And wouldn't
but it was in
return
April.
messages.
Okay. And you had $900.
He paid $900.
And the rent on the property was supposed to be?
$800 per month.
$800 monthly.
Yes.
So right now, you've been paid for the month that he lived there.
Correct.
Prior to his moving in there, who was living there?
Nobody.
So it wasn't rented?
Nope.
In what year was it last rented?
2021.
When?
Oh, no, it was in February. We did an eviction on it.
So somebody lived there and didn't pay rent?
Correct.
Is that the first person who came and didn't pay rent?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Yeah, it's
And
lousy
Trevor
to
was
be a
there, and
landlord.
he helped us do the
Yeah.
eviction on that, so he knew how it worked.
Hmm?
Trevor was there. He helped us do the eviction because we had to have court officers there
To get him out because they weren't paying rent.
So he knows how it works.
Well, he may know how it works, but he did, in fact, give you $900.
He did.
And he lived there for less than a month.
That's right.
So that's sort of square. I know you'd like him to be responsible for his lease, but you have your house back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, tell me about this phone that you say he owes you for.
Okay.
By the way, where's your phone?
I have my phone that I paid for. Their phone that I put a down payment for is at my house.
Why?
I didn't know I had to bring it.
Well, it was just purchased within the last year.
Yeah.
Why do you have 2 phones? You have no
Because,
job. Why do you have 2 phones?
I have a job.
Oh, good.
I bought this outright because he shut the other phone off.
Oh, well, where is the phone?
The phone's at my house.
What kind of phone is it?
It's an iPhone 13.
You want it back?
I'd like him to just pay for it like the agreement was, but...
He gets back his phone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Even though I
Wait,
paid
just
it
a
down.
second. Where do you live? Where do you live?
I live in Highland.
Where is that?
It's by Detroit, Michigan.
Who else lives at home?
My girlfriend,
What's her name?
Ariel.
Where is she?
She is currently working right now.
Does she know where the phone is?
Yes.
Okay. They're going to give you an envelope in the clerk's office back here. You're going to tell Ariel to put his phone carefully packed and mail it to him. FedEx, UPS, the fastest way it will get there. Then you get your phone back. Go. What's next?
I have text messages here from Trevor. This will show where, when he was dating Natasha, they had agreed that they would pay for their phones up front so that I would put them on my business plan. I told them I would only do that if they paid for the phones up front, because when I took Trevor to Verizon, I said, if they don't pay for their phone bill, as long as they've paid for these phones in full, I can shut them off and it will cost my business no money, correct?
Hmm?
And the lady said, that is right. I said, okay, then we can do it. So we added them to the bill, to the business plan. And here, where I text him, I said, you and Natasha told me you were paying for the phone in cash. That's why I allowed you on my business plan. Now I found out that you did not pay for the phones up front, because when we were in there, he and Natasha had the cash.
Did you assure Mr. Snyder that you were going to pay for the phone?
I had no idea I was even going to get a phone until Natasha said, go with Adam and go pick up our phones. That's all I heard, and that's what I did.
Well,
I didn't know
can't
about
say that
cash.
to me because the lovely Natasha isn't here either. Sir, you're going to get your phone back. Is it one phone or more?
We recovered the second one from...
Well, you're going to recover this one, too. You recovered the second one.
Yeah.
The second one was Natasha's?
Correct.
Great. We're going to recover this one, too. What's next? Changing lock fees, and you want a personal loan. Okay. So once he moved out, according to you, he moved out totally. And you didn't even know he moved out, so I don't know why the locks were changed.
The lock did not need changed. I did tell the court that we were going to have to change the locks because the key was missing. I didn't know that while I was away on storm, Julie had gone in to check, make sure the water wasn't running, and she found the key on the table. And that is what Trevor
great.
said.
So we're going to eliminate that. And now we're going to go to the small loan that you say that you made to the defendant.
So Natasha came over, guys. He said she worked at...
Don't tell me what Natasha asked you. That's all hearsay. I need to know what conversations you had with the defendant.
Okay, but she came over...
But you can't tell me what she said, you see.
Okay. So
and
anyway,
if you made a contract, if you made a contract with Natasha for a loan of money, even if it went for his benefit, do you understand?
Okay.
Even if it went for his benefit, he's not responsible. If Natasha says, I want you to give, what's your first name?
Trevor.
Trevor, a loan to fix his car, and you say, okay, you need somebody to pay you back. Natasha has to say, I'll pay you back. However, you can't tell me that.
Adam Snyder and Julie Ellis claim their former employee, Trevor McCormick, owes for the cost of a phone and a personal loan. Trevor is countersuing for unpaid wages.
Now, did you ever have a conversation with Trevor about money?
I do. I have a text message telling him.
No, tell me, not a text message.
The conversation was not verbal.
It was by text message?
Correct.
Okay, so I'd like to see text message from him.
Yep. This has from Trevor. This is his number.
Okay. May I see it, please?
He did pay me $100 in cash.
Okay, so it's clear from this text exchange, sir, that you borrowed a certain amount of money from the plaintiff.
I did not borrow, Natasha.
Yes, well, it acknowledges it here because you say, I start that job on the 14th. I will pay you back out of my first check. It was for me, and I will pay it. That's what you wrote. Do you understand? Do you want to look at it?
No.
You don't want to look at it. You're not questioning me, so it's clear from this that you borrowed money from Miss Ailes.
I personally did not. I didn't even know what was going on.
Who wrote this? I start that job on the 14th.
That was me.
Well, then, that's in response to her text message to you that says, hello, Trevor. I heard you were moving out and I need that paid by the end of the month. I have been very patient as no attempt has been made on this. Thank you. And you immediately wrote back to her and said, I start that job on the 14th and I will pay you out of my first paycheck. That's what you said to her.
Yes, ma'am.
You mean, yes, ma'am. Now, I'm going to get back and ask you the question I think I asked before. What was the loan for?
I broke down in Oklahoma.
In what month and year was that?
About September of last year.
September of 2021 is just about when you started dating Natasha.
Correct.
Okay, so your car broke down in Oklahoma. And?
And it had to get fixed.
And?
So I rode the Greyhound bus back up to Michigan and waited until my car got fixed, which took months.
I'm asking you, what was the loan for?
To go back down and get my car.
So it was $670 that you borrowed from her, and I want to know how it was that you got the money.
I came in to Julie's house, and Natasha said, you're going to Oklahoma to pick up your car, because I didn't have any money right then and there, but I wasn't going to ask anybody.
Just a second. I don't care what you were going to do, what you didn't do, what you thought about doing. You went into the house that the plaintiffs share.
Mm-hmm.
Not uh-huh. Uh-huh is not an answer. The answer is yes. The lovely Natasha was there.
Yes.
With Julie.
Yes.
What did you say and what did Julie say to you? Just Julie.
Julie didn't really say anything. She said, don't tell Adam about the money.
Oh, so she said she would give you money?
Yes.
And she knew exactly how much you needed?
Yes.
Did you tell her that?
No.
Okay. When she gave you the money, did she give it to you in check or cash?
She didn't give me no money. She gave Natasha the money.
Okay, how much was it?
$700, around there.
And after it was given to you by Natasha, but you were all in the same room together.
I was not in the house at the time when they were discussing that.
Well, you said you went into the house.
I came to pick Natasha up. Yes.
I don't want you to make yourself appear any more stupid. Do you understand? Try not to do that. You were in the house with Julie and Natasha at some point, and at some point, money was discussed.
No.
Was money discussed in front of him?
No, it was not.
Okay. So your loan was not with him. Do you understand?
Yes.
Unless he ratifies the loan subsequently. Is that correct?
Correct.
This is from my person who just studied for the bar, and I have to go back in my mind 50 years. If my memory is correct, if you don't make a loan directly with someone, they cannot be obligated to repay that money. However, if they subsequently get use of that money and subsequently agree to repay you, they have ratified that contract.
Correct. You just have to decide if that's a ratification.
Yeah. What would be your take on that? Take a look at it very carefully. What would be your take?
It was for me, I will pay it. Seems pretty close to textbook ratification.
Yeah, I would say so. I start a job on the 14th. I will pay you back out of my first paycheck.
I just wanted to keep the peace because she was down my throat.
This woman was down your throat?
Yes.
She may have been annoyed, very annoyed, but she wasn't down your throat. She was the one who volunteered to give you money in your time of need. How could she be down your throat? Okay. So far you paid her back $100. Is that what he paid you back? So he owes you $600. Okay. So far, Mr. Snyder, I'm not with you on it, on the rent.
Okay.
I'm not with you on the lock change fees. I am with you on the phone, which you're going to get back. He's going to get that back within 5 days. Otherwise, he's going to have difficulty.
Here from the day that he did the phone purchases, instead of paying for the phones up front, he also added a bunch of other cordless phone chargers and everything else to the bill.
How much were the extras?
Totally, there's 2,000.
No. I don't want them total. Total, you're going to get the phone back. What were the extras that he charged onto the phone?
There's a $41.99.
$41.99.
There is a $20.99.
Okay. You know that I went to 7 years of postgraduate school for this. Keep going.
$29.99.
7 years. They were very hard years. I also took the bar exam. Keep going. $29.99.
$17.99.
Oh, it's getting worse. Not better for you, Mr. Snyder.
And $11.99.
Worse. A lot worse.
$122.95.
Okay. You have a counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
For what?
Working on the farm.
Okay. Tell me about that. From when to when did you work on the farm?
November to the end of March.
And what were you doing between November and March?
I was feeding cattle when Adam was on storm, watering them.
To March what? The end of March?
Yes, right.
I thought you worked at a factory.
I did both.
Well, you can't do both. You work at a factory. I asked you if you had a job. You said, I work at a factory.
I did do both.
Well, now I need the name of the factory and find out what your shift was.
I was,
And you worked during the day?
Yes.
From when to when?
From
Time?
6 to 6.
Well,
I had...
Just a second. Mr. McCormick, if you work from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., it is not possible to work a full-time job for the plaintiff as well.
I had a schedule of three on, 2 off.
Okay. We're making it up as we're going along.
Adam Snyder and Julie Alice have accused their former employee, Trevor McCormick, of refusing to pay the cost of a phone and the balance of a loan. Trevor claims he was not paid for the work he did on their farm.
Now, did he work for you?
It would be very minimal. He would put hay bales out, which would take 10 minutes.
He would put what?
Hay bales out for the cattle.
Hay bales?
Yes.
At approximately what time of day? Because I'm not getting...
He could come and do it when he got home from work.
Okay. And did you have a financial arrangement with him for putting out these bales of hay?
We never did.
Okay. Is there any reason why you never did?
Because he didn't do it very often, and he said he was just happy to help, although he did get paid for everything he did until the last day that he worked for me, where we were tearing apart a building.
So he got paid when he worked for you?
He did.
That's incorrect.
Oh, just don't speak. From when to when?
When he helped me, it was very minimal. It would be...
No, I'm not talking about the hay. You said he did, in fact, work for me.
He did.
I want to know, but not on the farm. He worked someplace else.
He helped on another piece of farmland that I have.
Okay.
Where a barn had fallen down. We were tearing the steel off, and he worked 3 hours that morning.
3 hours what morning?
The last day that he was there, it would have been...
So that's in March?
Early, I would say the second week of March.
Okay. When was the first time he worked there?
I would say probably in January.
And he was working at this other plant from 6 to 6 in March,
correct,
according to him. So he did some work for you in the first month, which was January.
Yeah. If he helped me, it might be 1 day a week.
Fine, I just want to know if he got paid for it. That's what he's...
Yes,
we can't do May something. How much did you pay him?
It would depend on how much he worked. One day I gave him $300 for helping me for a day and a half on another demolition job I did.
And you paid him in cash?
Correct.
Okay.
That was for the demolition job. That wasn't for the farm.
It doesn't make any difference, sir. If you have a full-time job and you're working part-time someplace else and you say he paid you...
He did not pay me.
Well, you say he didn't pay you for the farm. What he's saying is he had a job with me. He was a demolition job for which he got paid, which you do not deny. Is that right?
I'm not.
You just said that's not what I asked you. He paid you for the job that you did part-time for him.
Yes, he paid me
demolition.
for that job, yes.
So that's a yes.
Yes.
And what you're suing him for is allegedly money that he owes you for working on the farm during a period that does include March when you were working full-time someplace else.
Correct.
And working for him.
Yes.
And doing this work at the site in March, the first 2 weeks in March, because you got some money for that.
Correct.
So now you have, according to you, 3 jobs. 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
First of all, you had no fixed financial arrangement with him at the farm.
Correct. He said he'd pay me what he can.
That is not a contract. Okay, but let's move forward with that. Tell me what your chores were at the farm.
I would go feed them hay.
Just to feed who hay?
The cows.
Okay, how many cows do you have?
130.
Anybody else work on the farm, or just him?
Just me mainly, and he would help when I was gone.
Okay, and in order to keep these animals alive, they have to be fed hay?
Correct.
For how many months did you feed them hay?
3.
Once a day?
Yes.
And what time would you do this?
Usually in the morning.
Before you went to work?
Yes.
That had to be 5 o'clock in the morning. You went to work at 6 o'clock. You had a shift, according to you, from 6 to 6.
Yes.
Okay, so how long did this take you in the morning when you had a full-time job?
Sometimes.
Not sometimes. I want you to tell me how long it took you.
Average about an hour and a half a day.
So let's say it took you an hour a day. And how many days did you do it?
I was with him every day before I got the job. I would go with him every day.
I don't care.
Okay.
For the 3 months, I'm asking you how many days you did it.
45.
That be right? In the 3 months, maybe 45 days? How many days did he put out hay?
If Trevor fed the cattle 12 days the whole time by himself, I'd be surprised.
And I helped him, because I was there.
You did not help me when
Just
he
a
was
second.
gone.
Yes.
You helped him with the bales
Yes,
of hay?
I helped him, because we also had another hired hand that would help me too, so I was rotating between both of them.
Okay, so let's say he worked 20 hours. Did you pay him any extra money for this work?
No, not for feeding cattle.
Not feeding cattle. And you didn't have any arrangement with him whereby he would work on the farm and he would get something off his rent?
No.
Okay, so he has to be paid for that. Sarah Rose, would you look up and see if there's a minimum wage in Michigan? What's the federal minimum wage? I don't know anymore.
$15.
So the minimum wage is now $15 an hour. That's federal.
Yes, ma'am.
15 times 20.
$300.
Okay, so, Mr. Snyder, let's start with you. You are going to get your phone back within 5 days. On your cross-claim against Mr. Snyder, I am awarding you $300 on your counterclaim. That is for the work that you did on the farm. However, we are holding that check until he gets his phone back in good condition.
Yes.
Do you understand? Otherwise, you forfeit that money.
Yes, ma'am.
To him. Do you understand?
Yes.
With regard to the co-plaintiff, I find that you did, in fact, take a loan from her, that you initially did it through a third party, but that you ratified the fact that you would make payments on the loan by 2 things. First, by acknowledging it in writing, and second, by making a payment. So I'm awarding you $600 on your claim. Those are the orders of the court. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I think they're scam artists.
We came here to try to teach him a lesson that when he enters into contract with somebody, the contract is a contract.
They're greedy. They want money. They need money.
For being greedy, we did a lot to help this guy out.
By doing pretty much anything they ask.
Well, we've decided we're not helping people out anymore. They're on their own.
It's funny because if he didn't send those text messages ratifying the contract that someone else had made on his behalf, he could have gotten away without any responsibility. But when someone makes a agreement on your behalf and you then later either pay for it or admit responsibility that you know you owe it, then you've ratified it and you're held to that, even if you didn't make the initial agreement.
See, and then the right thing happened.
Yeah, it
And
did.
the right thing happened.
It did.
That's good. That's
Taking
all good.
accountability.
Case number 2045, Vervick versus Bias. All parties, please step forward.
Howard Verbrick is suing his former customers, Angela and Jimmy Bias, for loss of income and the cost of a wolf dog.
Mr. Verbrick, what do you do for a living?
I'm an auto mechanic.
Who do you live with?
Myself.
When did you get into breeding and selling wolf dogs?
Approximately 8 years ago.
Why?
I found the animals fascinating.
Howard Verbrick claims his former customers, Angela and Jimmy Bias, owe for the cost of a wolf dog. Angela and Jimmy are countersuing for harassment.
This is your case. The defendants purchased one of your puppies several years ago.
One, yes.
And a couple of years later, according to you, they were looking for a second dog.
Yes.
Did they contact you?
Yes.
By phone?
Through messaging.
Which you have.
Yes.
Okay. And I will take a look at it at an appropriate time. That they were looking for, I think they were looking for a male, they had had a female.
Correct.
And you were prepared to accommodate that. Did you give them the price for the dog?
Yes.
What was that?
At the time, it was $800.
And after certain discussions with them, was that price ever modified?
Yes, it was.
To what?
Angela thought that the $800 was a little expensive, and
How much had they paid for the first dog?
$500.
Okay.
The reasoning being they helped me sell some.
No, just years before, they had paid $500. You were asking $800 for this male.
It was $800 back then also. Under the circumstances, if they helped me sell animals, then I would give them a deal.
Did they do that for you the first time that
Yes,
they?
ma'am.
So the first time that they bought a puppy from you, they paid $500 and assisted you in finding owners for other puppies.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Second time, you asked for $800.
Yes,
And then did you make the same deal with them?
I did.
How many puppies did you have?
At the time, I had 6.
Did they come over and see the puppies?
No.
Isn't that usual to come over and pick one, unless you only had one male?
Sometimes. I've sold other people animals throughout the United States by pictures only and updated photographs.
On what date did you go and pick up your puppy?
He dropped the puppy off to us on, I think it was March 22nd.
How far does he live from you?
About 40 miles.
So
30
you
miles.
could have easily gone to see the litter.
Yes, correct.
So you chose for him to drop the puppy off.
Well, he kind of messaged us, and we had a phone conversation where he stated that he couldn't feed the puppies anymore.
No, that's not what I'm asking you. I know you have a script that you want to tell me about because you have something in your head, but that's not what I asked you. What I asked you was you could have gone to look at the litter of puppies.
Correct.
And picked out which one you wanted.
Correct.
You chose to have him deliver it to you.
Yes.
That was my question. He delivered to you a male puppy. How old was the puppy you delivered to them?
Approximately 9.5 weeks.
I don't know if that's an appropriate time for wolf dog puppies, but 10 weeks is a reasonable time to separate puppies from the litter and their mother. I know that that's not what I went to law school for, but you require a certain amount of nonsense information over the course of a lifetime. Anyway, did they pay you for that dog?
No.
What was the arrangement?
According to Angela, I got 3 different amounts. She was going to give me a $100 deposit and $100 a week, a $150 deposit, then $100 a week, and a $200 deposit and $100 a week. I got nothing.
At what purchase price?
She was thinking the $500 when I was asking the $800.
That's not what I said. Did you ultimately make an arrangement with her for $500 if she helped you find other pet owners? Okay, let's be direct. So you agreed to make them the same deal with this dog as you made with the last.
Correct.
Which is, I'll give you if you've helped find other potential prospects for the other puppies.
Correct.
So purchase price was $500, and they did find you other people for the puppies.
1, yes.
Well, they found one. It wasn't specified. They found one. And did you place that puppy?
Yes.
This is what your lawsuit is about. You say that she didn't pay you any money, and the people who you placed the other dog with did not finish paying you.
Correct.
Well, they're not responsible for that person. They're not responsible for that person unless you gave them the dog in order to collect the money. Okay. Or did you drop the puppy off?
I dropped the puppy off at their house.
Then that's your problem. Okay. So then what we're dealing is the $500 that you claim they owe you for the dog.
Oh, plus potential loss of income.
Oh, no, yeah. Be ridiculous. Okay, $500. Let me hear your excuse.
I think that the dog has been abused, and I have video proving.
And?
The male won't ever come around.
Just a second. And?
The male does not like males. What he'll do is he will cower at the sight of any male. He's very aggressive when he goes to take food from you.
He was 10.5 weeks old.
We've had him for 8 months now, and we still can't touch him.
But you got him, and he was 9.5 weeks old.
And he's still the same.
You got him when he was 9.5 weeks old. So that's not a reason not to pay for him. You still have him.
He needs proper care, and we don't feel like we should pay anything.
No.
Not with what we have to deal with the dog emotionally and everything else.
Well, unfortunately, the law does not agree with you. You agreed to pay him $500 for a dog. You have the dog. And you have to pay him the $500 for the dog. That's it. It's an easy case. That was your contract. You didn't make a contract with him for a dog that had a nice disposition. Just pay careful attention. If you want a dog that guarantees you practically a nice disposition, buy a golden doodle, not a wolf. Buy a golden doodle.
Gotcha.
Buy a Shih Tzu. You want a big dog? What's another big dog?
Golden retriever.
Buy a golden retriever. But if you people are odd enough to think that wolf dogs make good pets, not knowing, because I did a little investigation into wolf dogs, Are wolf dogs good pets? Because I get my cases early, and I say, why would any normal person want to own, with 219 breeds or more in this country, in the world of dogs, why would you take a dog that is in part, and you don't know what part, wild wolf? Why would you do that? If your animal is aggressive, go look at its history. Because sometimes they'll grow up to be friendly, nice dogs, like the first one you had.
First one I have is very well with our kids.
You know, this one, I'm going back to my wolf roots. Well, so it's judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're done. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
We more or less rescued this dog.
The dog had no issues before.
He cowers down to any side of a male.
That's just a totally false statement.
It's to the point where he's got to get a trainer.
I hope that it is taken care of, and if they don't want the animal, I'd be glad to take it back and care for it.
We're going to work with him. Yeah, we're not going to let him go.
It's just another example of people who maybe not, looked into the history of a dog, a wolf dog.
Mm-hmm.
And if you read about it...
I did a little before the case.
Yeah. And it said that a wolf dog is a mix between a wild dog and a domesticated dog. And they list the names of the kinds of dogs that they have been bred with over the course of the years. But in that kind of situation, you don't know how much wolf you're getting.
It's a risk.
You could be getting 8% wolf. You could be getting 50% wolf. You really don't know. I think that there are some jurisdictions where they don't allow them to be sold as domesticated pets.
I think there are a few out there. I just think it's a gamble, and you have to be willing to assume the risk.
I think that we have totally covered wolf dogs.
I think we have.
Nanette Highland is suing her former neighbor, Sahara Carrillo, for vet bills after a dog attack.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2042, Highland versus Carrillo.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tell me your dog's name.
Faith.
How old is Faith?
11.
How long have you had her, Miss Highland?
Since she was 5 weeks old.
When did you live next door to the defendant?
Yeah, it was across the way, but...
It's across?
Yeah, my side of the door faced her side of the door, and there was a grassy knoll in between.
Do you have a photograph of the area?
No, I don't.
Do you? I'd like to see it.
That's mine, and this is where hers would be.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is whose trailer?
Hers.
It's Carrillo. Is there a street in between this area?
That's where hers would be. Right
Where?
there, in that area where the rocky thing, right after the grass.
Kevin, give this to the defendant.
Maybe
and
this
have her
one's
put
better.
Where the plaintiff's trailer would be.
Okay.
And where hers was.
This is where hers is. Would have been right here.
Just put plaintiff and show me where yours was.
Mine is right here.
Put it down. Let me see if that makes it clear to me, Kevin. Thank you. Yours is here, plaintiff's is here, and this large grass area is a common area?
Yeah.
It's a common area because you're all the way down here. This is a relatively large space.
It's only like...
I wasn't talking to you.
Sorry.
Okay. And the incident that involved your pet, Miss Highland, happened on October 8th, 2021.
Yeah, it was actually October 9th after going back through the paperwork.
You are no longer in this trailer park.
No, it's an RV park, but yeah.
An RV park. How long were you there?
4 or 5 months. It was like mid to end of May, and this happened in October, and within 3 weeks,
You
got
left.
a place.
And that's your dog. That's the dog that was injured that day.
Yes.
And what kind of a dog do you have?
A Vizsla mix boxer.
A Vizsla.
Vizsla. Uh-huh.
So tell me what happened, Miss Highland, on October 9th.
I had gotten up and I was taking my girls out to go potty.
How many of those do you have?
2. I have a puppy that's almost 2 years old, and then Faye. So I was taking my girls out to go potty, and I'd been looking to make sure that the dog was inside, and I didn't see the dog, and it was on its chain under her trailer, apparently, because when we came outside.
Was your dog on a chain?
On a leash, yeah.
Well, what kind of leash?
That's not right. Yes, that's not true.
Well, that's a leash.
Right.
That's a leash. She says the dog was on a chain.
No.
Do you have?
Yes, it was. I don't have a chain. Okay.
I don't have a chain, never had a chain. It's been a leash.
Okay. Were you outside on October 9th at the time of this incident? Were you outside when it started?
Yes. I was outside on top of my stairs.
No, you weren't.
Okay. You're not allowed to answer her. I'll come back to you.
Okay.
Okay, so you're taking your dogs out to potty. Were they on a leash or off leash?
They were on a leash.
But she didn't have
They
them.
go outside.
Don't speak.
Okay.
I always have them on a leash whenever they go.
Were they on a leash on October 9th?
Yes.
Okay, so you were taking them out, although you did say, Miss Highland, that you let them out in your front yard, is what you said, I believe, in your complaint. Let me see. You didn't say I took. You said I let my dogs out in the front yard to go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
when I say let them out, let me clarify, okay? I'm always with my dogs.
I know that you say you were always with them.
Yeah.
That's not my question. My question to you was a simple one. Were they on leash or off leash?
Yeah.
Yes, what?
They were on their leashes.
Be careful. You took them out on leashes in the front grass. And what happened?
When we got down to the bottom of the steps, her dog came out from underneath the trailer and grabbed Faith.
Well, she was on a leash.
Yeah, but she grabbed her. The puppy started to go one way, and I had Faith and dropped her leash, and the puppy was going, like, she got out of my hand and was taken off, and her dog was under the trailer, didn't know it because I had been watching to make sure she had been inside, but didn't see her or the dog out, and she came out of the trailer after the dog grabbed Faith.
In what location did her dog grab Faith?
Right by my trailer, right by my steps, where I had my steps. The chain was long enough for the dog to go past the tree that was right there in between the two properties. And she came out and
Your
started
dogs came right
beating-
no, just you didn't have a hold of the leash.
You're not.
That's
you're not,
because the dog
you're
broke
not
free.
Sorry. You want to continue with this case or you want to go?
No, I want to continue.
Then let's understand, we don't talk to each other. Okay, so your version of the events is that her dog was chained under her trailer. You came out with your dogs on leash. The puppy ran away. You dropped her leash. Her dog got your dog and took your dog back to her trailer.
Yeah.
At what point did she come out of the trailer?
After the second time, her dog had picked up Faith, and Faith was screaming, and I was screaming.
Okay. Miss Carrillo, have you ever had an incident with your dog before?
No.
With another dog?
No, I haven't.
That's a lie, because you...
Shh. I want you to think carefully. Have you ever had another incident with your dog and another dog?
No.
How long have you had your dog?
Since she was a puppy, 9 years, since 2013.
And this is the first time she aggressively bit another animal?
Yes.
Okay. You have information to the contrary, Miss Highland?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
I'd like you to tell me.
Okay. When I first moved in, she even told me about how her dog had killed a couple other dogs.
Okay. Tell me about that.
She just told me to make sure I was careful with my dogs because her dog has a history of attacking and aggression towards other dogs.
Well, those are conclusions. You first said that her dog killed two dogs.
She did. She told me that her dog was aggressive and that it has a history of killing other dogs and that it had already killed other dogs, and that's why she got kicked out of her last RV park.
I've never lived at another RV park. That's my first RV park ever living at.
Where did you live before?
At my mom's on Ming Avenue.
Did you ever indicate to Miss Highland that she should keep her dogs close to her?
We've never spoken prior to the incident. Just maybe a hi. She just had moved in. I never spoke to her.
You want to tell me your version of what happened on the 9th of October?
Yes. I was outside on top of my stairs. I was sweeping. My dog was at the bottom of the stairs. I have her tied up to the stairs. There's a ring where I clip her leash to, so she can't go far. It's just this distance while I was sweeping.
Would you hand that to me, please?
And I can hear her dogs barking while they were inside.
Would you open it up for me? Okay, what you're telling me is that this is what you tied on to under the stairs. Where did you tie it?
This part right here.
And then
Where?
I have
Where?
I have to show you how I have it, put it on. Can you give it
Yeah,
back?
let her show me.
I'll clip it onto her harness, and then this would clip
What
onto the
harness?
bottom. My dog's harness.
Are you telling me that your dog was on a 2-foot lead?
Yes, I have her right there when I'm right there. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My neighbor can vouch to that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Owes for vet bills after Sahara's dog attacked her chihuahua.
Tell me your name.
My name is Garrett Newhouse.
Mr. Newhouse, how long have you been the defendant's neighbor?
2, 3 years.
Did you see the dog on that gizmo?
Yes.
How far do you live from the
I'm
defendant?
directly behind Sarah. I'm just right behind her.
Behind hers. So you face the back or the front of her trailer?
The front of my trailer faces the back of her trailer. The door is the same direction towards the yard.
So that you don't see her front door?
Her trailer is angled so that I can see her front door.
Okay. You want to tell me your version of what happened on the 9th? You can sit down.
I was outside on top of my stairs. My dog was at the bottom. On the bottom,
this thing.
On the
Okay.
bottom, I have a hook that I clip her leash to, and she was sunbathing right there. I moved her other places, but while I was there, sweeping on top, she was right there. So then I hear her dogs inside that were barking, and then all of a sudden I hear the door open, and the dogs just come rushing. Both of her dogs, they had leashes on, but she wasn't holding the leashes. And then my dog grabbed her dog, and I yelled at my dog and whacked her in her head, and she dropped the dog, and then that's when she was on her way.
How did that happen?
What do you mean?
Your dog is on a 2-foot lead. You heard her dogs coming out. You were on top of the stairs.
Yes.
You saw her dogs, according to you, running, and your dog is on this much. This much.
Yes.
No, actually not that much, because you made a loop.
Yeah, that's the way I do it.
Well, not a moment ago. You made it. You made a loop, so it was on about this much, and on about this much lead, your dog picked up her dog in the mouth. How many times?
Just that one time, and it's this long. You can see where the area is all dirt, where she stays on it and runs around it or misses in the dirt. The grass is still right there where it's nice and green, and the area that she sits in is right there, right in front of my stairs.
And so your dog grabbed her dog in the mouth while close to your trailer.
At my trailer, yeah.
At your trailer. And then you hit it on the rear end and she spit out the dog.
Yes.
And then?
And then she ran towards her and she came towards her dog.
This little dog ran towards the plaintiff. The plaintiff ran towards her. And what did you do?
She went to get her dog and I
What
grabbed
did you
my
do?
dog.
How did you grab your dog?
I took her off her leash and put her inside. And then I went to see if her dog, is your dog okay? You should have had a hold of her leash.
Now, what did you say to her when you came out?
Is your dog okay?
Okay. Is your dog okay? And what did she say to you?
I can't remember. She was just, your dog, got my dog. I'm like, how come you didn't have the leash? They were on leashes, but she wasn't holding them. And she said because of her legs that she couldn't. And I told her, then you shouldn't have dogs if you can't take care of them.
Just a second, is that what you said to her? You shouldn't have dogs if you can't take care of them?
If you can't they can't be loose. There's a leash law, and she didn't have the leash. She had leashes on them, but she didn't have a hold of them.
I'm just asking you.
Yeah.
That's what you want me to believe you said to her.
That's what I said to her, yeah.
You shouldn't have dogs if you can't take care of them.
That's what I said, yes.
Okay. And did you see her dog injured in any way?
No.
Can I see the records from the vet, please?
Yeah. And here's even photos.
And was there a report made to either the
There
RV?
was,
Shh! I didn't finish my question. Was there a report made to the RV park or to the police department?
Yes.
May I see that too as well?
I don't have the RV park or the police report. They could not.
Okay, but not they could not.
Me all over.
The answer is I don't have them.
Yeah, but that's just photos from the injuries.
Now, I'd like to see the vet report, please.
This is the neurology. This is all the other vet stuff.
Don't give me a whole bunch of stuff. I'd like to see the reports and the bills from the vet. And I am correct, sir, you did not see any of this incident. Is that correct?
Only the commotion
No, just
when
a second.
and she
I'm
smacked
asking
the
you.
dog and
No. Stand up. let's be very careful about your answer. Am I correct that you didn't see any of this incident?
Only after she had smacked the dog and he dropped the dog and that little commotion right there where she picked up the dog and went in the house.
You saw it from your trailer, from your RV?
Sitting outside my trailer.
So I want you to tell me exactly what you saw. Now look at me.
Her.
Who's her?
Sarah. Her picking up her dog and going back to her house.
Where was she when she picked up her dog? No, I tell you what you're going to do. You're going to show me right here.
Like halfway between her house and her house.
Put a mark where you saw her, where she picked up her dog. Okay, may I have that, please?
Struck it somewhere. Like a couple of feet away.
So she picked up her dog right near Miss Carrillo's RV.
Correct, yes.
And where was Miss Carrillo?
She took the dog and led it up the stairs, put it in the house, and shut the door, and came back out to see.
And at that time, were you listening to what the two women were saying to each other?
Not really.
Were they yelling at each other, or were they calm?
There was yelling.
So if they were yelling, could you hear what the yelling was?
I didn't know either one of them at that time really that well. I think I went back in the house at that point. Just whatever.
Thank you. You've been most helpful. Okay. You have the report from me from the 9th of October?
Yeah.
I'd like to see it. Okay, so there was one set of stitches that the dog had.
That was her first surgery.
Okay, let me see the second time she was there.
This is the stuff for that one. And that's what why.
Well, this was the day afterwards. And when did she go back?
It was June 30th because she was having grand mal seizures and they had to keep her because they had to start her on phenobarbital because of the eye injuries and the head injuries.
Well, it doesn't really talk about those injuries.
In the pictures. It shows where her head was punctured.
I see one wound. And I don't see a photograph.
On the picture itself, if you see her head, there's a mark right here on her head by her eye. That was a puncture wound that they had to clean out.
Okay. Now, the defendant says both dogs had a leash on, but that the leashes weren't attached to your hand. Is that correct?
Honestly, I don't remember because most of the time when I'm coming down the steps, I have their leash in hand. And sometimes, like going down the steps, I lose the leash or I drop it and they are at the bottom of the steps waiting for me because they know it takes me a minute to get down the steps.
Okay.
Is responsible for her Chihuahua's vet bills. Sahara claims her dog was tied up and Nanette's dog ran onto her property.
At any time, did Faith run across the lawn?
No, she was right by the steps because the tree is right there. It was like in between our spaces isn't even as big as this, in between here and your front of the
bench.
And literally, she was grabbed right by my steps.
Was any report made by you to any animal control?
I'd called 911 and reported it, and they can't find the report, but it was done over the phone, and I waited for them to come out for a week, and I kept calling them. But I did it over the phone with them.
Did you ascertain from the defendant whether her dog was up to date in rabies shots?
I didn't ask any questions afterwards. I was just trying to make sure and find out what was going on with her.
Did anyone from the RV park come and discuss the incident with you?
They just asked me what happened.
Just a second. So the answer is yes. Do you have any sort of documentation of that discussion that they had with you?
There was no documentation.
Do you remember the name of the person that you spoke to?
Yes.
Are you still at the RV park?
Yes.
Did you tell the RV park that there was a witness to this event?
No.
Well, there were two different versions of the event. One says that your dog came and attacked hers, and you say that her Chihuahua came and was aggressive towards your dog. But you have allegedly an independent witness who saw part or most of it, who you brought to court today. I assume that the plaintiff communicated to the RV park that your dog was at fault. correct?
Yes.
And you say your dog was not at fault. Is there any reason why you didn't tell the RV park that there was a witness?
Oh, because I didn't know yet.
When did you find out that he had seen anything of the event?
Maybe like 3 weeks after.
Tell me about that. How did you find out that he had seen any part of it?
Because I was talking to him about what was going on, that she was going to take me to court, and then he said that he had seen.
So now you were talking to your neighbor.
Right.
Which meant that you must have been at least somewhat friendly towards him.
At that time, yes.
At the time of the incident on the 9th of October.
We didn't know each other that well.
But you had lived there for a long time. How long did you live there?
Since July 20.
And how long has he been living there? How long have you been living there?
A long time, 20 years.
Long time, 20 years. So my question is, what prompted you 3 weeks later to have a discussion with him?
Because I started to get to know him by then. I worked. I worked at that time. I worked a lot. You know, so I started to conversate with my neighbor. That's...
Mm-hmm. Okay. How much were your vet bills?
This point, it's over $10,000.
Have they been paid?
Most of them.
Okay. I'd like to see the bills, the last bill.
And can I say something about what she said? First of all, she was in there way before I was. She had already been there over a year. And second of all, the thing is she couldn't have said anything 3 weeks after, because it wasn't after until my leg recovered from having to have emergency surgery from falling right after the incident happened that I even decided to file court papers. So the court papers weren't even filed
until when?
Until June.
I didn't say they were filed.
You said 3 weeks after. But anyways, so like all this
I see the bills
back in October. Mm-hmm. And I literally couldn't get to the courthouse to be able to drive to the courthouse.
How much do you owe the vet?
What I've already paid is over $2,000, or right around $2,000 in cash that I've paid. But to get her MRI, I need to pay $3,000.
There is no nexus that can be drawn between the seizures that she's having now, other than other than the vet saying that it's possible that it can be caused by trauma.
Yeah.
Other than that, that's the only thing I saw there. There was not a full report that said the trauma that she had 6 months before was the basis for these seizures that she's having. Seizures. She's 11 years old.
Seizures right after the attack.
Ms. Highland, you have to understand that you need an expert witness that you don't have to demonstrate that the seizures that your dog is currently having is a direct result of this dog attack.
Right.
Do you understand? Faith is 11 years old, and it's possible.
neurology.
Just a second. It's possible that it comes from that. It's possible it comes from something else. I don't deal in possibilities. Right. All I want to know is what vet bills you paid for October 9th and October 10th.
The actual total was $1,526.62 without her medicine being involved.
Okay, well, that's a reasonable vet bill for those 2 dates. She did have 2 different surgeries. And the medications that you're talking about were also included in that $1,526. Right. Other than for the seizures that you want me to draw a connection with I'm not. And nothing more is owed to the vet for those 2 days, October 9th and 10th. Okay. Ms. Carrillo, I have to make a determination as to whether or not I believe the story that her 2 little dogs rushed up to your dog that was being chained to a step on a very, very short lead with you standing right there, and whether or not I believe that you stood there while your dog that was on a very short lead, that has never had any problems with aggression before, picked up her dog twice, because once she had puncture wounds in the stomach and once she had puncture wounds around the head. And I don't believe you. Quite frankly, I don't believe you. Okay. And I think you're responsible for her vet bills. I think you would have indicated.
Didn't she say that she didn't have the leash, that she wasn't sure if she was holding the leash? Her
absolutely.
Dog
I don't answer your questions. If you're standing on your step sweeping, and your dog is now chained, and you see her dog's running across, then you jump down from the step and you grab your dog. That's what you do. You have a very big dog that you keep on a very short, according to you, chain, and there's a reason for that. So if you're standing with it, this is not a question and answer. You're responsible for our vet bills. I believe her. $1,526. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
So one thing I found interesting about that defendant's testimony was that when you were in your line of questioning about whether or not her dog had ever been in another fight or with any other dog, any interaction, she said no. I thought I remembered when I was reading her answer, she stated that she had a mutual understanding with the plaintiff that when her larger dog was outside, the plaintiff's dogs would be kept inside. Why would you need to have that sort of mutual understanding unless you knew that your larger dog had a propensity for violence towards other dogs?
That's true. I forgot. Now that you mentioned it, I remember that I read about this mutual agreement. I wouldn't think that she was afraid that the Chihuahua would attack her dog.
Probably not.
Are suing their former employer, Christopher Ricks, for unpaid wages and vandalism.
Court come to order. All rise.
Seat, please.
Case 2094, Joyner Hendrickson versus Ricks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that I'm going to start out with Mr. Joyner. Who is that? That would be you, because we start with you. He came in later to this scenario, is that right?
Right.
So let me try to understand, Mr. Joyner, what it is that you're suing the defendant for, considering what you wrote to me in your complaint. You were looking for a job. Whatever business you had went south, and you didn't have any money.
That's not true.
Well, let's see.
It was said like that, but we did not lose a...
After losing my jewelry business.
Yes, ma'am. That's not right.
Well, that's what you signed in your complaint.
Yes.
So I can only go by what you signed in your deposition. That you lost your jewelry business, that's what it says. Anyway, you were looking for a job. The defendant has a theater, among other businesses.
Yes, ma'am.
And you sought out the defendant, Mr. Joyner?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how you sought him out.
I was vending at a coffee shop. I was vending my jewelry. It's not a lost business.
Would you just get on to how you met him?
Definitely. So I was vending there, and I saw at the theater Pride Weekend. So I had called Chris Ricks, said, hey, is it okay if I come up there and vend my jewelry?
Just a second. So you called him. Was his name on the poster? How did you find him?
Just call it the theater's number.
you.